morning sun exploded over the neighborhood of Nobita's house like someone had cracked open the world's most enthusiastic egg yolk, and somewhere in the depths of a closet that defied every known law of physics, a round blue robot cat was having...
I was magnificent!
Between his spare propeller beanie and an emergency supply of dorayaki that he'd hidden from himself during a particularly aggressive diet phase 3 years ago.
Look at this glorious creature! Nobita, who had been enjoying a peaceful dream about a world where homework didn't exist, and Shizuka had finally agreed
to marry him instead of running away screaming, tumbled out of his futon with all the grace of a garbage bag rolling downstairs. His glasses were crooked, his hair was performing modern art, and his pajamas had somehow twisted around his body like he'd been wrestling invisible pythons all
night. What time is it? Nobita groaned, peeling his face off the floor. Is the house on fire? Are aliens attacking? Did I fail?
Another test in my sleep? Worse! Look upon!
my former glory and weep!
Nobita's eyes, still crusty with sleep and dreams of academic success he would never achieve, slowly focused on the image. His jaw dropped. His eyebrows climbed toward his hairline like they were trying to escape his face entirely. A sound emerged from his throat that was somewhere between a laugh, a scream, and a dying accordion.
You're yellow? I was yellow! Sunshine.
Yellow! Golden, honey yellow! The most beautiful yellow in all the robot cat manufacturing facilities of the 22nd century. I was a masterpiece of optimistic coloring. The photograph showed a younger Doraemon, ears intact, round belly gleaming, and yes, absolutely radiantly, impossibly, hilariously yellow. He looked like someone had dipped a bowling ball in butter and given it a face. He looked like a sentient lemon with delusions of grandeur. He looked absolutely nothing like that.
Doraemon, a blue, earless robot cat, stood in Nobita's room, vibrating with barely contained emotional turmoil.
Nobita did what any best friend would. It's good, Bima. Nobita, thank you.
Do in this situation. He laughed so hard he stopped breathing. Nobita wheezed, rolling around on the floor, tears streaming down his...
You look like a traffic cone, like a giant gumball, like someone's cheese wheel grew legs. This is not the supportive reaction I was hoping for. I'm sorry. It's just you're so round and so yellow and you look so confident. Look at your little face.
You have no idea what's coming.
Doraemon snatched the photograph back, cradling it against his chest like a precious.
That confident yellow cat had everything going for him. He had ears. Beautiful, functional, acoustically perfect ears. He had a color that screamed, I
am an optimistic helper robot who will definitely not develop anxiety and a dorayaki addiction. So what happened? Nobita asked, finally pulling himself together enough
to sit up. How did you go from that to this?
He gestured vaguely at Doraemon's entire blue existence.
Doraemon's eyes grew misty. His round body seemed to deflate slightly. Somewhere in the distance, a bird sang a mournful tune that perfectly matched the tragedy about to be revealed.
It began, Doraemon said, his voice dropping a whisper with mice. The screen ripples. Time itself bends. We're traveling back through the
decades, past flying cars and teleportation stations and that weird period in 2089 when everyone inexplicably wore hats shaped like various appliances.
Wow, what a ride! Cool!
The gleaming chrome corridors of the Matsushiba robot factory, where the 22nd century's finest helper robots were being manufactured with care, precision, and an alarming amount of corporate corner cutting. Yellow Doraemon stood proudly on the assembly line, his ears perfectly triangular, his paint job immaculate, his confidence absolutely unearned but admirable nonetheless. Around him, identical yellow robot cats were being activated one by one, each performing their standard diagnostic tests. Unit 2112! The factory supervisor, H.
Please demonstrate standard helper functions.
With pleasure!
He reached into his four-dimensional pocket with a flourish that he'd been practicing for weeks. His stubby paw emerged holding a fork.
A fork for transportation. How does it work?
A fork? This I gotta see. That's a fork.
A dimensional fork?
It's for eating salad.
Time-traveling salad? Huh?
Cats on the assembly line began to snicker. A particularly smug unit, let's call him Chad, because every story needs a Chad to make things worse, leaned over with a perfect condescending smile. Don't worry, Unit 2112, his ears twitching with superiority. Not everyone can be a top-tier robot. Some
of us have to be mediocre. It's basic math.
I'll have you know that I am going to be assigned to the...
Best family in history! I'm going to help my human achieve their dreams. I'm going to be legendary. Sure you are. And I'm going to be assigned to a struggling inventor's family, or something equally unimportant. Spoiler alert, Chad was absolutely going to
be assigned to a struggling inventor's family, and that inventor's great-great-grandson was going to build a time machine specifically to go back and prank Chad. But that's a story for another day. Yellow Doraemon was assigned to Sawashi, the great-great-grandson of one Nobita Nobi, a boy whose academic failures were so legendary that they had echoed through generations like a particularly embarrassing family curse. Sawashi was a good kid, earnest and kind, and he welcomed his...
So you're going to help my ancestors stop being terrible?
I promise I will do everything I can. We'll revolutionize him! By the time I'm done with Nobita Nobi, he'll be the most successful, most capable...
A mouse scurried across the floor. Yellow Doraemon screamed with a pitch that shattered 3 nearby windows and set off car alarms in a...
What was that tiny furry demon? That's just a mouse. They're harmless. They're like...
The size of your paw.
It looked at me with its beady eyes! It's plotting something! I can feel it!
This, dear audience, is what
we call foreshadowing. The dramatic kind. The kind that makes you want to reach through time and warn a character about their impending doom, but you can't, because they're fictional, and also they wouldn't listen anyway because they're too busy being dramatically confident. Life in the 22nd century was good for Yellow Doraemon. He had purpose. He had a warm charging station. He had access to dorayaki delivery services that operated at the speed of... He had started developing a training program for young Sawashi that he was sure would eventually help Nobita once he traveled back in time to meet his assignment. But there was one problem. The mice were everywhere. They lived in the walls. They scurried through the wires. They held
tiny mouse meetings in the ventilation shafts. They're discussing my weaknesses and planning elaborate attacks.
You're being paranoid, Yellow Doraemon.
But I heard them whispering. It's a conspiracy.
It's just your imagination. Said for the 14th time that week, watching his robot cat balance on a chair while scanning the room with wild, terrified eyes.
I am being vigilant, Yellow Doraemon corrected. There's a difference. Paranoid robots don't survive. Vigilant robots prepare for the inevitable mouse uprising. There's not going to be
a mouse uprising.
That's what the mice want you to think!
One fateful night, while Sawashi slept peacefully in his room, Yellow Doraemon decided to
investigate this mouse uprising myself!
Take a nap on his charging station. The station was a cozy little pod in the corner of the house, designed specifically for robot cats to recharge and dream of electric sheep or whatever robots dream about. Yellow Doraemon settled in, closed his eyes, and drifted off into a peaceful sleep filled with visions of dorayaki mountains and a world where homework helped itself. He didn't notice the small hole in the wall. He didn't hear the tiny foot